Hello and welcome back for week 4, our final week of this session of progressive mobility. Hopefully the homework is still going great. Looking forward to our final day together and reviewing the assessment at the very end. Today we're going to get started with just our strap. So we're going to jump right in. We'll do a quick warm up, review a couple of those moves that we've been working on. So go ahead and grab your strap or band. We'll start on the right leg. Nice and easy, just coming back long. Once you settle into the mat, just take a couple of deep breaths here before you even start moving. Practicing just 2 or 3 of those crocodile breaths, inhaling to expand the belly, and then exhale to allow yourself to sink into the mat just a bit more. Body is relaxed for now. And one more deep breath. Perfect. Go ahead and find that pelvic tilt, pulling that belly button to the spine, to the mat. Left heel drives into the mat. Core is braced as that right leg lifts. Using that strap, again, as little as possible, like we've been working on the last few weeks. Maybe we don't need the strap at all and we're just holding the leg up at this point. Gently lower that right leg down, all coming from the core. Inhale at the bottom, brace the abs, and exhale to lift. Again, strap is as active as needed, but as light as possible. 3 lifts here today to just get that body fired up. Hopefully you did your foam rolling and a couple of small movements before we got started today, like we reviewed in the pamphlet. And exhale to lower. Gently switch feet, bringing the left foot into the loop of that strap or band. Bracing the core, lifting the left leg. Relax. Keeping the shoulders and neck relaxed. Lowering the left leg. One more time. Exhale to lift. And exhale to lower. Go and release that strap. We're going to stay on our backs here, bringing both feet to plant onto the mat, bracing the core, finding that pelvic tilt, hands down by the side, press into the heels to lift the hips for our bridge, and gently lowering the hips back down. Exhale to lift and lower. Three more bridges here. And we'll start to warm up our rotations. One more big press through the heels, keeping that back nice and straight, nice neutral spine. Inhale to lower, hugging the knees into the chest, couple of rocks back and forth. Come on up. We can slide the strap out of the way and grab our foam roller. We'll start with those wonderful extensions. Hopefully they're starting to feel more and more comfortable each week as you practice them. Gently coming back, finding the bottom of the scapula against the foam roller, hands behind the head, and just allowing yourself to fall over and fold into that extension. Once you're settled in here and your head is relaxed and comfortable on the mat or pillow, whatever is beneath you, fingertips point to the ceiling. Exhale to allow those arms to fall open. And just hang out here for a couple of easy breaths. Inhaling to lengthen, exhale to fall deeper into the stretch. Two more deep breaths. Good. Gently inhale, bring the hands back behind the head. Use those hands to come up out of that extension. roll all the way up, and we'll come into our bretzel position. So bringing that foam roller in front of the body, again, getting more and more comfortable and natural in these positions each week, finding that straight line as we look down towards the feet, bringing the top knee to the foam roller, bottom hand wraps around that thigh, top arm will reach back to that bottom foot. 5 deep breaths here. Each exhale, sinking deeper into the mat. Eye gaze goes up to the ceiling. Gently release that bottom foot. We're gonna stay in this position. Both arms come forward. We're coming back to week 2 where we started. So both arms forward or bottom arm wrapped beneath the head. Inhale, exhale to open the chest, allowing the arms to fall into a T position. And inhale to close. Inhaling as we close, exhale to open, allowing that top hand and shoulder to fall closer and closer to the ground. Trying to keep the hips stable, that foam roller doesn't move underneath you. If the foam roller moves, that means our low back is rotating, which is what we want to avoid here. So make sure you keep that knee pressed forward. One more rotation here. And inhale to close. Take your time, we'll press into the mat to lift and swing over to the opposite side. Nice, easy switch of the body. Find that side lying position, bottom hand forward. Take a look, make sure we've got that nice straight line as our head relaxes. Top knee comes to that foam roller. Knee is just above the hip. Bottom hand to top thigh. Top hand to bottom foot. Eye gaze goes to the ceiling. 5 deep breaths. Good. Exhale to release that bottom foot. Arms come forward, back to those dynamic rotations. So again, both arms forward or bottom hand under the head for a pillow if we need it. Head relaxes, walk those shoulders underneath the ear. Top arm gently rotates open. And inhale to close. Again, paying attention to what that foam roller is doing underneath that top leg. Try and keep that core nice and active so the foam roller isn't moving. Inhale to close. Exhale to open. Two more here. Beautiful. Inhale to close. Go ahead and press into the mat and come on up. We can slide the foam roller out of the way. We're going to trade it for our kettlebell, weights, or whatever it is that you might have with you again this week. Finding that half kneeling position again. So making any adjustments that we need in our space. Starting nice and neutral. So I know last week we finished with a couple of different angles. We're gonna start nice and square. So front knee is pointed straight forward, right above that front heel. Back foot is directly behind the down knee. Squeezing those glutes and tucking the tail so that we're nice and tall. Kettlebell is just right in front of us. Gently hinge the hips, lift that kettlebell and bring it behind the body or whatever your weight may be. Check in again now that you've got that weight behind you, pulling the shoulders back and down and pressing the hips forward. Gently leaning into that front knee. Again, that whole body moves as one. That kettlebell just gives us a little bit of extra assistance now that we've spent the last week getting used to this position. Press into the front knee to come back up tall. That foot walks back towards the body just a couple of inches, focusing on the ankle here, gently leaning into that front knee. Heel drives into the mat. Nice, easy, deep breaths. Come back up as you exhale, and now that foot walks forward about 4 inches, 2 inches in front of where we started. Nice and easy. Make sure that down glute is still engaged, core is nice and braced, and hinging into that front knee. One more deep breath here. Exhale, push into that front foot, come back up tall, release the kettlebell. Go ahead and set that down in front of you. We're gonna swing the feet to switch, so left knee comes down, right knee comes forward. Find that nice square position here. Go ahead and grab that kettlebell and we'll loop it back behind the body again. Checking in, make sure you've got those nice 90-degree angles. Again, we've always got the option for those hip circles that we worked on last week if you want them. Arms just fall heavy with the weight in the hands and gently start to lean into that front knee. Three deep breaths in each of these positions on this right side. Press into the heel as we exhale to come back up tall. That foot walks back towards the body again, just a couple of inches. Heel drives into the ground. Don't let that heel lift as we start to come forward over those right toes. Exhale to come back up. Last one here, walk that foot forward, just in front of the knee. Nice and easy, hinging forward. Allow those arms to be heavy, core is braced, glutes are engaged. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to deepen the stretch. Good, come back up. Go ahead and release the kettlebell to the side. We'll come down to all fours here for some rotations, some of our quadruped rotations before we move into this week's progression. So finding that tabletop, check in, make sure the hands are directly under the shoulders. Remember, we have our two options here that we reviewed last week. So we either stay here, fingertips behind the ears, and add our rotation, or if it's more comfortable and you've found that you prefer to come back to hips on heels through your practice this week and finding that same rotation. Your choice here, whichever feels most appropriate for you. Find that position, left fingertips behind left ear, elbow to wrist, and rotate. We'll do 5 on each side, moving with your breath. Inhale to close, exhale to open. One more here on the left side. Release, plant the left hand, right hand behind right ear, same thing. Elbow to wrist, exhale to open. Remember, keep those hips nice and stable. If you notice that they're moving on you, finding that hip to heel position may be more appropriate for you. Otherwise, stay right here with me. 2 more. Relax, plant the right hand. Go ahead and press all the way back to the hips. We're gonna come around to have a seat. And we are going to find what we call a 90-90 or shin box position. So this is our new progression for this week. Let me move that kettlebell out of the way here. So new progression for this week. Start seated, however is comfortable for you. The best way to find this position is to bring both knees forward. We're gonna take right knee to the ground with your foot behind your body. Left knee is just going to come into that right thigh. So I'm gonna turn to show you this from a couple of different positions. So starting again, heels on the ground, knees bent, right foot just kind of loops around behind me. And then left knee just finds that right inner thigh, kind of wherever it may fall. Back to facing you. So once you're in this position, couple of different things for progressions and regressions. So if you notice that your front knee is starting to lift or this is just extremely uncomfortable for you, find something to slide underneath your bottom, whether you roll your mat up and stick it underneath you, a small couch cushion or pillow or a bath towel, anything like that to kind of give you a little lift in the hips can really help with this position. If this doesn't feel like much of a stretch at all, we'll just kind of walk the front foot forward and slide the hips over so that when you look down, you have a perfect 90-degree angle with that front leg. And then that back leg, again, can find that same 90-degree position. This is a little too extreme for me. It may feel good for you depending on what your body has to offer. So, nice and tall, what we want to focus on is knees and hips staying on the ground and our core and spine being nice and tall. So if you feel yourself leaning to the side, that's a sign that you might need to slide something underneath you. So just kind of settling into this position, taking the hand and pressing into that front knee that's trying to maybe lift up off the mat, giving yourself just a little extra extension in the spine and some external rotation in that front knee. Opposite hand can just kind of fall wherever is comfortable, settling in here for 5 easy deep breaths in this new position. After a couple of breaths, start to notice where are we active, where are we inactive, do we need to settle in and start to maybe press the knees into the ground to feel a little bit more tension and opening of the hips, just being a little intentional to make sure that we're not lifting away from the mat. Rolling the shoulders back and down, nice tall spine, relaxed neck. One more big deep breath. Maintaining this position, we're gonna start to add some movement. So our back foot, that knee is going to start to lift. We're gonna work on some internal and external rotation here in this position. This is not going to be the most comfortable or easiest position to get into, I promise you that, but it will be worth it, especially for those of us who spend a lot of time in desks and in the same seated position, or even standing a lot of the time at work. So from here, we press the hips into the ground, find that nice tall spine settling into this position. This back knee is going to start to lift up off the mat. Keeping the torso nice and tall, lift and lower. Doesn't matter how high we get that knee, you will very quickly see when we switch sides, my left knee won't lift nearly as high as my right. No big deal. We're gonna do 10 total lifts. I'm gonna turn to both sides so that you can see what this looks like from a couple of different angles. So again, we're seated nice and tall. Knees are pressed into the ground to find our starting position, and then gently lifting that right knee off the mat. Good. Couple more. I'm going to turn one last time so that you can see from one more angle. So from here, you'll be able to see that my left knee is not moving at all. I'm nice and strong through the core, pressing the left knee down as the right knee lifts. The rest of my body is staying as still and stable as possible. Feeling those external rotators and glutes starting to fire up. Go ahead and relax. Staying in this same seated position. We're gonna press both knees into the ground. So left shin is forward, right knee is down with the right foot kind of behind the body. Left hand plants into the ground behind you. Fingertips point away. We're gonna press into feet and knees and lift the hips, reaching the arm up behind the body for 3 deep breaths. And gently release. Same thing, opposite side. So now my right hand plants behind. Exhale to lift the hips. Eye gaze goes towards that lifted hand. 3 deep breaths and release. We'll do one more of each. I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see this from another angle. So still in that same shin box 90-90 position. Left hand reaches back behind the body. Press into the knees and feet. Lift the hips. Release. Legs stay where they are. Right hand comes behind the body. Lift the hips. So again, progressing, adding in our thoracic rotations, our hip extensions, release, all at once. Take your time, we're gonna gently unwind the legs there. Switch so that our right leg, our right shin is parallel with the long edge of the mat. Left foot wraps behind the body gently. Just reversing that position. So take your time. Like I mentioned, this is going to feel completely different from one side to the other. We've already learned that with other movements. Kind of adjust the body as needed. Maybe here we can make some of those adjustments where we need something underneath us, but we didn't on the other side, or maybe we don't need it on this side. Maybe we can reach the shin forward just a little bit more. Take your time, settle in, take a couple of deep breaths here. And then once you're in whatever position feels good for you, 5 deep breaths. Starting to settle in, focusing on, you can see my right knee is lifted a little bit more than my left was, so I'm gonna take that right hand and just gently start to give myself some pressure on that top of the right knee, opening that hip just a little bit of manual pressure here. Again, checking in, that spine is nice and straight, the back looks like it's attached to a flagpole. Good. Sitting up nice and tall, hands again wherever's comfortable. We're gonna start to add that external rotation here of the left hip. So our right knee gently is trying to press into the ground to pull open. Our left knee is opening. Much less obvious that this left leg is opening on the camera there. This hip is much tighter for me. You'll start to feel some differences in your own body. Making any adjustments that are necessary here. One option, if your knee isn't lifting very far, pulling that heel away from the bottom can give you just a little bit more range, but make sure that we're focusing on that core, staying nice and engaged and staying nice and vertical with the spine. We're not leaning to the side to get more range of motion. We're just getting what we're able to from this position. 3 more lifts. Beautiful. Nice, easy breaths. 1 more. Relax. And we'll go into those extensions with rotations. So right hand comes behind the body. Press knees, feet into the ground. Lift the hips, reaching the arm up overhead. Eye gaze follows those left fingertips for 3 easy deep breaths here. And release. And switch, giving yourself that rotation. Left hand comes behind the hips, lifting the body. Pressing into feet, knees, and hand for all the support that you need here. Gently coming back down, 1 more on each side. Right hand plants and lift. Relax. And last one. Bringing that left hand behind, lifting the hips. And gently release. Last one for our progressions here today. So these are all great moves that you can work on. Like I mentioned, anyone who works at a desk, anyone who's standing regularly throughout their day, all fantastic moves. Simply sitting and watching TV or playing games with the kids on the floor, whatever it might be that you do, sitting like this for just 5 to 10 minutes a day is going to really help improve that hip mobility that we've been building on throughout this entire progression. So our final active movement to learn throughout this course is going to be a simple hip wiper. This is very different than some of the exercises that you've maybe heard called wipers that are for your core in the past. So starting in this same position, we're gonna bring hands behind us. And again, I'll show this at a couple of different angles. So gently bringing hands behind you to lean back slightly to give your hips a little room to move. We're going to swing the hips over to the opposite side. So we'll turn back to the camera and gently using the hands as much as necessary, just windshield wipering the hips from side to side. So we'll turn so that you can see this at just a little bit different angle. Oops, sorry, let me switch my legs. And so same thing, same starting position that we just had. So we've got that nice 90-90. If we have the ability to, we can keep the hands lifted and start to wiper from here. When we do that, if we don't have the full range of motion, you're gonna see your body kind of roll over itself and do all kinds of funky things. That's what we want to avoid. That's what bringing those hands behind us will give us that assistance for. So bringing our hands back and giving ourselves just the tiniest bit of support will help us keep that spine nice and long, not rounding over the body, working towards being able to lift the hands. So we'll do 2 more wipers each direction. Keeping the hips down as we do so. That's where the trick comes into play. Last one, back to where we started. And relax. Gently unwind the legs. We're gonna go into a long leg L-sit, so toes pull in towards the nose. Our spine is nice and tall. Imagine somebody's got a string tied to your head and they're pulling you up as straight as can be. Gently hinging forward from the hips here. And just take a couple of deep breaths. We just did a whole lot of rotational work in the hips, so we're just gonna give them a second to settle down. 3 deep breaths here. Neck is relaxed. Pulling the crown of the head towards the ceiling and the chest between the feet. And relax. Release all that tension in the legs, kind of wiggle them out, coming all the way back down to your back, right where we started. Feet in towards the body, pelvic tilt, press through the heels for an easy bridge. A little bit of a cool down here to release all of the tension that we just built in the hips. Three more. Hands just wherever's comfortable. Exhaling to lift, maintaining that pelvic tilt, finding that nice, easy hip flexor stretch at the top of your bridge. Final bridge for today. Release the hips, knees into the chest one last time. Couple of rocks back and forth until you find yourself in a seated position or just rolling to one side. And relax. Thank you for joining me for this session of 4-week mobility progression. Please take your time to revise week 1, revisit that, go through that assessment again, check out how you progress throughout the last 4 weeks, all of the work that you've been putting in the evenings with your foam rolling and the added mobility work from week to week. Take a look at that. Feel free to email me. That email is attached to the pamphlet that you received in signing up for this course. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join me over the last 4 weeks, and please don't hesitate to reach out if I can answer any further questions for you. Thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Bake McBride. I am the Assistant Manager and Group Fitness Director here at Move by BJC. And I want to thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to join us for this session. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can jump on the website at www.movebybjc.org, or you can give us a call, 314-286-0525. Thanks again.